Well, hello everybody. So today we're going to be discussing the state of the markets and what to do with bearish markets, okay? What I'm planning to do. So as of right now, the markets are in a correction. So whenever the market goes down 10%, especially in the composites like the NASDAQ, the S&P, it enters what's called a market correction. And whenever it's minus 20% or more, it's called bearish market. So essentially what's going on is that the trade war has a lot of investors worried and concerned. I think partially because if there are tariffs, then essentially what that means is that if things will get more expensive, people will buy less, and revenue for these companies will go down. So right, and essentially, it's not the best thing for the short term. So I'm just going to say it quite point blank, right? So I voted Donald Trump. I voted him in because I didn't like the inflation. And last time on his term, COVID did hit, but the markets were pretty good under his term. And actually, what I'm thinking is they weren't bad under Biden either. They went up a lot under Biden. Even though inflation was very high, right? Because although inflation was high, I got a lot of money out of stocks, and I have to give him credit for his administration doing that. I mean, stock market did pretty good under his term. Anyways, what do I think about the tariffs? Well, I think that they are a necessary transition for our country, but we have to be careful because Trump yesterday announced that he won't rule out a recession. Like, he just dodged the question. Like, he won't rule out a recession, and it caused the markets to go down like 2 to 3% in one day, which is like the Dow was down 800 points, which is quite insane. Like, that's quite extreme. Um, so yeah, that's basically the deal. The deal is that if he can't get the economy under control, because a lot of people have been flipping against him recently, like his own supporters due to the markets and shit, then I'm going to be voting Democrat establishment in 2026 and even 2028. Because although I don't like the Democrat establishment, well, it really depends who they put forth. So if they put somebody like Kamala Harris forward, she's not going to run, I don't think, again. But if her plan is like price control and shit like that, I'm not going to vote for her. That's terrible for the markets. It's terrible for the economy. And I don't regret voting for Trump over Harris. I don't think I will unless there's an extreme recession, because Harris would have also done bad to the economy and probably worse because of things like price control and because of the idea that you could give first-time home buyers $25,000 and there be no economic consequences as a result, right? If you give everybody $25,000, then the housing market will become overcrowded and everybody's going to raise their home price by $25,000, right? And whoever's paying the tax, I think like second and third time buyers have to pay a tax when they get a home. They're gonna raise the prices for rent. They're going to raise the prices of the home when they sell it. So I didn't vote for her because even though I knew tariffs were kind of a risky game, I wasn't going to vote for somebody that advocated for price control. That's just not something that I advocate for. As far as because I voted basically for because of the economy, because I have investments. So here's my plan, right? So my plan is that this summer I'm going to be working at a company, and I'm going to try to make quite a bit of money so I can jump into the stock markets. My hope is that well, one of two things, right? But it doesn't really matter. Uh, One is if the economy is still like down, especially if it's severely down, it won't be necessarily a bad thing because I could buy a lot of capital, a lot of stock. If I could get like a cheap ETF that's tied to the S&P or NASDAQ, or are these people seriously trying to, are these exploiters fighting? They are. They're fighting each other. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Anyways, my plan is to buy a lot of S&P and NASDAQ stock if it's still down by the summertime, which if it is, I don't know if I'm going to vote for Trump. Well, it wouldn't be Trump, it would be like J.D. Vance. I don't think I would vote for him. Because again, I don't like the Democrat establishment, and I don't like their government bureaucracy. Even though there are things that I disagree with as far as Republicans. Like, if you were to say Republicans are the party of small government, I wouldn't say that's true. I would say that they make certain parts of government very large and other parts very small. Um, right, and Republican states have been banning a lot of things recently. Like, they've been they've been banning a lot of things. So I wouldn't say they're the party of small government. But in my opinion, they're the better of two, at least for now. So my plan is, yes, it's to buy in bearish markets. But if it's bullish, say the S&P and NASDAQ have been going up for a couple months by the time I reach my job, my long-term goal is this. So I'm going to invest in the S&P and NASDAQ, right? And I'm also going to buy something called VIX, which is basically a market volatility fund or whatever. And here's what thing, right? So whenever the S&P and NASDAQ go down, VIX goes up. And I know what you think might be saying, but doesn't that just even out the gains? Not really. Right, so if I buy VIX when it's really, really low, because it goes, if you look at the stock chart, it goes up and down. What I can do is when there's a market sell-off, when S&P and NASDAQ are down, VIX usually goes up quite a bit. And so I will lose a lot less, and my portfolio may even gain money during those S&P and NASDAQ losses, right? And then once the VIX is high, I sell it, and then, oh, god damn it, I can't ever, do anything without getting fucking Luke killed. I'm so tired of this game. It's probably this asshole. Anyways, so once I sell VIX because it's really high and the S&P and NASDAQ are low, I get that money, and, I get a lot of money off of my investment. And when it goes back up, I wait for VIX to go back down, right? When VIX goes back down and the markets, and then I buy more of it. So here's essentially, bearish market, right? Bearish S&P, bearish NASDAQ. I have a shit ton of VIX. I sell it when it's really high. When the markets are high, S&P and NASDAQ, I don't have VIX. That's essentially the goal. I don't have VIX and I'm waiting for it to lower. So by doing that, I can maximize my gains, and I need to strategize a little more. I can maximize my gains and minimize my losses. Because again, one more time, I'll state this. If S&P and NASDAQ are down, if I have VIX, I'm likely going to have quite a bit of money gain from it. Right? And then once I sell it, because it's a short-term investment, and wait for it to go back down, my S&P and NASDAQ goes up. So I'm gaining basically 100% of the time. So that's my goal. And that's what I recommend for other traders, is maybe to look at that. Because again, it seems like evening out, but it's not really evening out. And even if you were to hold the assets over time, VIX usually goes up. I see it all the time. It goes up 7, 8, 9% on days where the market goes down half a point or a point, right? So it's not really the same thing, right? It's not really evening out. You will gain more by having VIX in the short term because it just goes up more. It's like mixing alcohol and stimulants. They don't just cancel each other out, right? They make everything worse. In this point, it makes everything better. It doesn't even things out necessarily. So the way I see it is that if you can capitalize off the greens in the market, the ups, you'll be well off. But if you can capitalize in the greens and the reds in the market, you'll be wealthy. You'll be very well off. So that's what I plan on doing. Okay, see ya. Bye.